This is a sword that couldn't slash properly. A sword so short a medieval knight would laugh at it. A sword that, by almost every measure of what makes a good sword, reach, cutting power, versatility, fails spectacularly. And yet, the men who carried this sword conquered Britain, North Africa, Gaul, Spain, Greece, Egypt, and the entire Middle East.
They built the largest empire the Western world has ever seen.
So either the Romans were incredibly lucky, or we've been thinking about swords completely wrong. Today, we're asking the question, did the Romans actually build the most useless sword in history, or did they build the most misunderstood genius weapon ever made?
Let's be fair to the haters for a moment, because there is a real case to be made that the Roman Gladius is kind of terrible. First, the basics. The standard Gladius, specifically the Pompey type that became dominant by the 1st century AD, was roughly 18 to 22 inches long. That's barely longer than a large kitchen knife. Your average medieval longsword is 3 to 4 times that length. Second, reach. In a sword fight, reach is everything. You want to hit your enemy before your enemy hits you. The Gladius gives you almost none. A Viking with a proper sword, a Macedonian with a kopis, even a Celtic warrior with his long slashing blade. They could all theoretically strike a Gladius wielder before he ever got close enough to use his weapon. Third, the edge. The Gladius was primarily a thrusting weapon, not a slashing one. Its double-edged blade could cut, sure, but Roman soldiers were trained to stab, not slice. Military manuals of the era literally mocked troops who swung their swords. Vigedius, the Roman military writer, said a slash rarely kills, but a thrust of just 2 inches into a vital organ is fatal. So let's recap. Short reach, optimized for one move, not flashy, not elegant. Compare it to a Japanese katana, a weapon so beloved it's practically spiritual. Or a Scottish claymore that could cleave a man in half. Or even the Greek xiphos, which at least gave you some slashing range. On paper, the Gladius looks like someone designed a sword by committee and forgot what swords are for.
But here's where it gets interesting.
To understand why the Gladius was actually brilliant, you have to understand something crucial. The Romans never intended their soldiers to fight as individuals. While Celtic warriors charged screaming into battle, showing off their personal courage, while Germanic tribesmen sought out one-on-one duels of honor, the Romans did something completely different. They fought as a machine. The Roman legion was organized into tight formations. Soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, shields overlapping, in rows. The famous testudo, the tortoise formation, had men covering every angle with interlocked shields. The front rank soldiers were maybe 18 inches apart from each other. Now ask yourself, what good is a long sword in that situation? If you're packed shoulder to shoulder with your comrades and you try to swing a 36-inch blade, you're going to hit the guy next to you. You have no room. A long sword becomes a liability, a danger to your own side. But a short sword? A short sword you can drive straight forward with power, right between your shield and your neighbors, directly into the enemy. Clean, efficient, lethal.
The Gladius wasn't designed for a sword fight. It was designed for a system. And that system was the most effective killing machine the ancient world had ever seen. Here's how it worked in practice.
The legionary would advance behind his large rectangular shield, the scutum. He'd hurl his javelin, the pilum, at close range, specifically designed to bend on impact so the enemy couldn't throw it back. Then, in the chaos of the enemy line breaking, he'd draw his gladius and go to work. In a press of bodies, close enough to smell each other's breath, the thrust wins every time. You don't need reach, you need precision, and the gladius delivers it. But let's go even deeper, because the gladius wasn't just smart tactically, it was a metallurgical achievement that often gets overlooked. The best Roman gladii were made using a process of combining iron rods of different carbon contents, essentially an early form of what we'd recognize as pattern welding. The result was a blade with a hard, sharp edge and a tougher, more flexible core. It wouldn't shatter on impact and wouldn't bend permanently. The hilt design is also smarter than it looks. That distinctive waisted grip, narrow in the middle, flaring at both ends, naturally prevents the sword from being knocked from your hand on impact. When you drive a gladius into a shield and the enemy tries to twist or pull away, your grip actually tightens. And the pommel, that rounded ball at the end, serves as a counterweight, making the sword feel lighter and more responsive than its chunky appearance suggests. Modern replicas consistently surprise people with how nimble they feel. It's also worth noting, the Romans made different types of gladius for different eras and needs. The early Mainz type had a longer, more tapered blade suited to fighting looser-formed enemies. The later Pompey type was shorter and more parallel, optimized for the tight formation warfare that became standard.
The Romans evolved their sword as their tactics evolved. This is not the behavior of people who accidentally stumbled into a bad weapon. This is deliberate, iterative design. You know what's more convincing than any modern analysis? What the people being killed by the gladius had to say about it.
The historian Livy described Macedonian soldiers, veterans of the Hellenistic world, men who had grown up with the tradition of Greek warfare, seeing the aftermath of their comrades being hit by Roman swords for the first time. He wrote that they were horrified, not at the deaths themselves, but at the nature of the wounds. They were used to arrows, spear thrusts, clean punctures. The gladius, even when thrusting, caused devastating internal damage. Limbs hacked off, torsos opened up. The Greek historian Polybius, who traveled with Roman armies and was a careful observer, noted that Roman soldiers used their shields offensively, pushing, bashing, setting up the gladius strike. He considered the combination of scudum and gladius one of the most dangerous pairings in the ancient world. And perhaps most tellingly, Rome's enemies started copying them. Germanic tribes, Gauls, even some Eastern armies began to adopt shorter, thrust-optimized swords after sustained contact with Roman legions.
When your enemies look at what's killing their men and say, "We should get some of those," that's not a useless weapon. That's the gold standard. So why do people call the gladius useless? Or at least underwhelming? I think it comes down to how we've been trained to see swords.
Swords in movies, in games, in our imagination are solo weapons. They're for heroes. A sword should be long and dramatic. It should whistle through the air. It should look impressive in a duel. The gladius does none of that. It looks boring. In a movie, a Roman soldier stabbing efficiently in formation is less cinematic than a Viking berserker cleaving through a crowd.
But war isn't a movie.
The Romans understood something that we keep having to relearn. The best tool for a job is the one designed for that specific job, not the one that looks most impressive in isolation. The gladius wasn't built to win a duel. It was built to win a war, and specifically to function inside a military system, the legion, that was itself engineered for conquest. Take the gladius out of the legion, and yes, it's suboptimal. Put it back in the hands of a trained legionary, in formation, after a pilum throw, behind a scudum, it becomes part of the most lethal infantry combination the ancient world produced.
There's also a lesson here about judging technology out of context. We do this all the time. We look at ancient solutions with modern eyes and laugh. Why would you use that? And sometimes the answer is because it was optimized for constraints you've forgotten existed.
The gladius is short because formations are tight. It thrusts because thrusts kill in close quarters. It's simple because simple things work when you're terrified and exhausted in a battle line. The gladius was standard Roman infantry issue for roughly 400 years. From the Punic Wars against Carthage in the 3rd century BC to the late imperial period. No other infantry sidearm in Western history lasted that long in frontline service. By comparison, the AK-47, widely considered the most successful military rifle ever made, has been in service for less than 80 years. The word gladius itself gave us the word gladiator, the swordman. It gave the Romans the term gladiola, the little sword, which eventually became the name of a flower. And scholars argue the concept of a short, practical military sidearm, as opposed to a ceremonial or dueling blade, descends directly from the Roman tradition. Modern militaries still issue sidearms, short, practical, used only in close quarters when your primary weapon fails. The logic of the gladius, backup weapon, close range, thrust optimized, lives in every modern combat knife doctrine.
So, did the Romans build the most useless sword in history? Absolutely not. They built a sword that perfectly served its purpose inside a system designed to conquer the world, and then proceeded to, in fact, conquer most of the world they knew about. The gladius is a lesson in how genius doesn't always look impressive. Sometimes it looks short, stubby, and boring. Sometimes it just works. If you want to go deeper on Roman military technology, I've got a video on the pilum, Rome's terrifying javelin, linked right here. And if you're new here, and this kind of history is your thing, subscribe. We do this every week. I'm Host, and I'll see you in the next one.